Hi there. It's time for another Fireside chat with Brad. I deleted my last post. Maybe I'll start a YouTube channel. So I'll probably get blocked off YouTube too. So, are you familiar with the SPARS simulation? Probably not. Let me tell you what it is. Pay attention. Okay, so this is a simulation study done in October of 2017 through Johns Hopkins University. This was actually funded by Bill Gates. These types of simulations are often done in order to project what would happen in the event of an actual pandemic. This one's interesting because it's called the SPARS pandemic. It's projected to take place in the future, 2025, but it's actually a coronavirus. Now, if we look at this first slide here, we see that both the CDC and the World Health Organization provide very high estimates for how many people they think are going to die from this. CDC at 4.7%, World Health Organization at 14 to 15%, and 50% for people over 64 years of age. However, it only ends up being 0.6%. Here's the actual data from the coronavirus pandemic we're currently going through, and we can see our friend Anthony Fauci at the USA Today saying that the actual deaths, contrary to what they predicted, was only 1%. That number is actually high itself. It's much even lower than that, but I think you get the point. Okay, on this slide, we can see that similar to the real pandemic where there was an antiviral, particularly hydroxychloroquine, notably at the beginning of the pandemic, this scenario also has an antiviral that's been shown to work on both SARS and MERS. In this case, it's actually called clavasivir. You can see it on the slide there. Now, as we know, at the beginning of the pandemic, the actual pandemic, there was rumors that hydroxychloroquine could work on this particular virus. Here we have a slide on a possible vaccine in this fictional scenario that had been worked on in other locations to treat other SARS and MERS viruses. In this case, however, they know the vaccine has serious side effects, including swollen legs, joint pain, severe seizures, and even death. One of the questions that they raise in this fictional report is how they will respond to the liability of the SPARS vaccine manufacturers when they have to deal with the potential harmful effects of the vaccine, and how to maintain that while also giving people the illusion of freedom. We then see that there is a campaign that goes against their antiviral drug known as clavasivir. This campaign takes place largely on social media sites, basically questioning the efficacy of this particular antiviral drug for treating the virus, similar to our hydroxychloroquine scenario. As we can see here, we know that the FDA eventually cautions people against using hydroxychloroquine, saying it's potentially not safe for this virus. However, in this fictional scenario, there are reports that in Wisconsin, certain people had been using the clavasivir antiviral with great efficacy. This is bizarre for a couple reasons. The person, whose name is Dr. Pierre Corey, who actually testified before the Senate that the other antiviral drug, ivermectin, was effective, actually runs a clinic in Madison, Wisconsin. It's one of the largest critical care units in the country, and he was actually tasked with the job of finding potential treatments for COVID pre-vaccination. This is one of the more interesting slides because it essentially says that the purpose of this campaign was to create a set of messages that were shared by all public health and government agencies in order to promote a vaccine agenda. It also states that the government will start using new controversial tactics, gaining access to what they call EHR, which is electronic health records. This is so that they can track people. This is slide 45 of 89. It sounds very similar to what they proposed with the vaccine passport. Here it shows that then they would create an aggressive campaign to basically promote vaccine usage, and they would utilize social media outlets such as YouTube and Facebook. We then learn that while many people did have adverse reactions to the vaccine and that they have to file lawsuits through the vaccine court, which is its own actual court, they are not concerned because the narrative is strong enough and enough people have been vaccinated that the sort of fringe movements or anti-vax movements won't be able to stop the already implemented vaccine mandates. Lastly, they show that while there was generally no major side effects of the vaccine for the vast majority of people, they find out some years later that many people actually developed long-term neurological symptoms. Now, obviously, this is a fictional scenario, but one can't help but wonder how much of this was directly utilized, and it also begs the question is, are we living in a simulation?